Hello, hello, hello. Is this thing on? How we doing? How we doing? Just gonna give a minute or two here, let people roll into the stream. Now, let people roll in. Where is my chat? There it is. Okay. How we doing? How we doing? Look, fair warning this morning. Fair warning this morning. I have not looked at a singular line. I don't know who's pitching. I don't know anything. So if you guys have some looks that you like, feel free to post them in the chat. We'll look at them together. Things that stuck out to you in your research this morning, anything like that. Huncho reposted the stream. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that repost. Repost always appreciated, guys. Never required, but more eyes we get on the stream, the better, right? We appreciate you. I know there's a lot of baseball games today, though. I know there's a lot of baseball games. Look, and when you have a big slate like this, guys, don't don't get bogged down by labbing every individual game. There are probably some games that we can cut here that we can cut. We don't need to look at. Um, one way that you can cut this work in half is you can go to the weatherman and you can kind of get maybe write down some of these games with good weather with good weather, right? We're looking for heat. We're looking for that wind blowing out. More humidity, the better, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Let's see if we can find anything that kind of sticks out to us right off the jump here. And like I said, guys, haven't looked at anything. I'm seeing thundery outbreaks here. So if we have a weather spot, right, and we're crunched for time, we can just skip a weather spot. We don't even need to look at it. We don't even need to expose ourselves to potential risks there. Um, yeah, I mean here we kind of wish it was a little bit cooler, right? I think we're gonna be. I mean, and we're in San Diego there, so more of a pitcher's ballpark there. Um, so here's one. Look, you have two high-powered teams, right? The Dodgers, the Blue Jays as well. Two high-powered offense, going to be warm, winds blowing out. We've got this one, 90 degrees, wind blowing out to the left. Right-handers, right-handers here. Hit that full fly ball. Likely it carries out of the ballpark, right? Um, yeah, I mean this one would be decent if I would have to take a look at the actual weather report on it. But we'll let some people roll in here this morning. All right. Let's just kind of take a look at this high-powered game, right? Look, two of the best teams in baseball right now, right? The Blue Jays of all teams actually have a better record than the Dodgers. I mean, who would have thought that, you know, right now? Dodgers are favored in this game. Who do we have? Oh, okay. Well, I think we may have some runs in this ball game, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. You've got the ghost of Max Scherzer on the mound. You've got the ghost of Clayton Kershaw. So, if we were looking at this in 2013, we would be like, man, this might be a 2-1 ball game, right? But we're in the year 2025, and these guys are on the bump. Um, you know, Scherzer has given up 9 homers already in 41 innings pitched. I mean, something to be said there for sure. Let's kind of see if we have any history here. Not a ton. Not a ton for Kershaw. Ty France is now with the Blue Jays. The more you know. The more you know. Left-hand pitching, Vladdy. Vladdy's going to be your candidate here. I tell you what, I do know We have a left-handed killer in Ernie Clement. Left-handed killer. Batting 339, just a 10% K rate. This guy is an on-base machine against left-hand pitching. I'm telling you. And also, I've got my prize picks up today. So we can actually shop some lines. And look, Prize Picks has caught on to Ernie Clement. There was a while we were getting Ernie Clement at 3.5 fantasy score, and we were just cashing, 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 cashing. Well, Prize Picks caught on to this. Now he does have a 1.5 bases demon today. This is probably where I would look to go. Does he have so his 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs is a goblin. So likely, if a fantasy score is dropped for Ernie Clement, you see that this 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs translates to 5 fantasy score. So if this is the goblin, you're gonna see his fantasy score 6.5, 7.5 today. I think you're getting some value going with the 1.5 bases demon. Just off the rip. Clayton Kershaw, 257 average to right-handers. Nothing to write home about, right? But you know he's giving up that contact. We can dive into this a little bit deeper here. And Huncho, who's in the stream, he knows I'm an avid Ernie Clement fan against left-hand pitching. Let's see. Yeah. Alrighty. As you can see, Ernie Clement against left-hand pitching. Look, he's just a doubles machine. A doubles machine against lefties. I think it's super likely he comes out in his first swing, he puts it in the gap for a double. It's likely. His total bases is plus 115, so it's not super crazy. The fact that we're getting that in a demon's really nice. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at the pitch mix. Kind of see what we're working with here. Obviously, hasn't faced him. Take a look against righties here. We'll adjust for what the matchup is we're looking for. And we want to look at that 2025 data, right? Let's see. Okay, so what are we throwing, Clayton? I want to look at something. Has this changed a lot? Or has he always been? Okay, so he has always been a pretty reliant guy on this slider. I know the data only goes back to 2020 for our website, but a lot of slider fastball. Okay, slider fastball is going to feature that curve a little bit. Splitter, Okay, let's see. And interestingly enough, you're throwing that pitch as your most predominant pitch, and batters are batting 316 against an off-speed pitch in which you've only struck out 14 batters and 79 plate appearances. What that tells me is these balls are being put in play, right? It doesn't always correlate to a hit, but it's good data to know that the ball's being put in play, and we have an opportunity for a hit. Let's take a look at Ernie. All right, so there's not a huge sample here against his left-hand pitching, but we do see he's seen the slider in 8 at-bats. He has 3 hits against it, a single and a double and a homer against it, right? So we know he can hit it for power, 500 ISO. He's only struck out on the pitch once this season. What I really like to look at, though, is we got the fastball. We're batting 314 against it. We're not hitting for a ton of power, but that's not what we're going for today with Ernie. We're looking for those bases, right? Got 3 doubles, 7 singles. He has multi-hit games against lefties as well. We can also go back and look at that. Now, one thing I do like is that Clayton's only going to throw this curveball some of the time, not a ton. And Ernie just hasn't seen that pitch that well this season. So, it's possible that the Dodgers pitching staff sees these analytics and they're like, all right, Clayton, just pepper him with curveballs. But it's not that he's striking out on the pitch. It just seems like he's flying out on a lot of these. So, unless he just comes out and gets peppered with 8 curveballs every at-bat, he's going to be a good look today. Also, here's something that you can do. Now, I do want you guys to understand, take this tip with a grain of salt. It's not always the most reliable, but if we have a smaller sample size for a pitch, we can run it back to 2024. Okay. Again, another small sample. So let's do since 2020. Okay. So since 2020, Ernie Clement has had 45 at bats against the slider against left-hand pitching. Throughout his career, seems to have handled this pitch pretty well. 356 average, and only struck out 7 times since 2020. That's pretty decent. So I like it. I like this a lot. I think he's a strong play today. Um, I think your 1.5 bases. If you need a goblin for a parlay piece as a filler, I don't mind this. What is he at? What is he at for hits today? Actually, hello. All right, Ernie. If you wanted to, if you wanted to take this today, he's minus 310 for one hit. That's insane. If you wanted to take this today, 1.5 hits plus 200, I think there's some value there as well. Especially considering your total bases is plus 115. Let's look at his hits. I mean, he has multi-hit games in 5 out of his last 10 against lefties. If we want to look at this season, I mean, 43% hit rate on 2 hit games. That's pretty good for a major league player. Um, that's pretty good. But you see here, 4 hits, two, 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 three. You see it in the data. I think you could take the 1.5 bases at plus money and also take this 2 hits at plus money as well. Seemingly hitting better on the road, which is super interesting. I wonder if this is consistent with the game overview page, right? And here in the game overview page, you can sort just about any way you want. You want to see how they do against left-hand pitching? There's that. You want to see nighttime games? There's that. So I don't think that when we click the 2025 away, I don't think it necessarily filters to left-hand pitching. Left-hand pitching. This is something I'm working with the guys on. I think it would be good if we could click 2025 away and also click 2025 away against left-hand pitching, if that makes sense. Because to the best of my knowledge, I believe if you press 2025 away, it's going to include all hand types, right? So we can't really gather the data right there. This is something that's being worked on. But just what we know about the left-hand pitching, I think it's going to be a strong look. And if another way that you can kind of narrow down the markets, let's head to our hit rater tool. Let's select some of the markets we want to look at here. Select some of the markets, total bases, hits, runs, RBIs, earned runs allowed, hits allowed, outs recorded, strikeouts recorded. These are my top 6 markets that I like to look at in betting. RBIs, home runs. These are super hard to project. So I like to stick, and you can add walks allowed if you want to. I don't typically bet walks allowed, but I know some people that do, and there's some value to be had there. Nick Kurtz, 1.5 total base. Yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at it here. Oh, JT again. And look, right off the bat, I can tell you that Kurtz is probably going to be an interesting play today. You got Sugano on the mound on the other side, 209 ISO to lefties, 13 bombs. I mean, he's giving up home runs to both sides of the plate. 21 homers on the season. What? Tell you what, has anybody been hitting for Baltimore? Because this 316 average for JT again is very concerning. Extremely low K rate as well. Has anybody faced him? I tell you what, JT again could really struggle today. One, two, three, four. I mean, five lefties. You kind of wish you had a little bit stronger lefty lineup, but Jackson Holiday, Gunner, Adley, Holt Cowser, Dylan Carlson. I probably wouldn't throw Carlson in there. I would probably look Holiday, Henderson, Rushman. Just kind of look through, see who has the best data against the pitch mix. Probably go from there. What's up, Dinger? How you doing? I say, hey, listen, check out Dinger Bets on Twitter or on X. Just drop the play of the day today. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss out. I think he's cashed his last two, if I'm not mistaken. Not mistaken. All right, so Kurtz hasn't faced Sugano, but let's dive into it a little deeper here. Kurtz has been batting second. That's correct, or why do they have him batting second? I mean, let's just talk about this. Now, we actually talked about Kurtz on the live stream in which he had 20, was it 19 bases? In the game that he had 19 total bases, we talked about Kurtz on the live stream that day, which was pretty incredible. Just a really maybe a once in a career, once in a lifetime type performance, right? I believe he hit what 4 homers, 19 total bases, just insane. This guy's power is unbelievable. Now, after that, he has cooled off pretty drastically. Huncho, what is enticing you about Kurtz today? Kind of on a little bit of a cold streak. Um, he went several games with no hits. One, two, so maybe not a huge issue here. Let's kind of look at the pitch mix here. As always, we want that 2025 data. Lefty, right hand pitching. Alrighty. Splitter, fastball, curveball, cutter. Tell me you can hit the splitter, big dog. Look, he's got a 33% hard hit rate on it, right? 302 average distance. Wow. He's kind of hitting that base. He's kind of crushing the splitter. Seems like he's got some unlucky variance there on that. 300 ISO, 66% fly ball rate as well. 33% hard hit rate. That's really good. 101 exit velo. Launch angle's really good. I think he could go yard on a splitter tonight. And we know if he gets a fastball, I mean this is pretty insane, right? 409 with a 477 ISO against the fastball. That's pretty insane. Yeah. Okay. I'm on board. I'm on board here. What about the curveball and the cutter? Those are just ancillary pieces, but we'll look at it. Handling the curveball well. A lot of line drive there. 7.5 fantasy score with a 1.5 total baseline. Yeah, and this is another thing. This is another way that we can corner the market, guys. Just what Huncho said in the chat. Like he said, so we have this 1.5 total bases line. So for reference, if he hits 2 singles tonight, which is 2 bases, that's 6 fantasy score. If he hits a double, that's 5 fantasy score, right? So we're still under that 7.5 fantasy score threshold, but we're cashing bases. Now, with fantasy score, you're accruing points with any action that happens. A walk, hit by pitch. Now, the thing about Kurtz, I don't know if it may be my internet running kind of slow today. I'm not sure, but it's kind of taking a minute here to load. thing about Kurtz is we can see that walk rate is slowly starting to tick up, right? They're seeing these teams are saying, okay, he just destroyed Houston. Well, maybe we don't need to pitch to this guy as much, right? One walk. I mean, he has in his last 5 games, he's got a one walk in 4 out of 5, multiple walks in one of those, right? So a walk does carry some value in fantasy score line, right? And that's kind of baked into Prize Picks' price today. So you're assuming that you get this 2 bases, which could be and that's not assuming somebody's on base, right? Then you hit this double, 5 fantasy score. You get walked, that's another 2, 7. And if anybody's on base, that's a run, that's another 2. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them today, but I think they're both strong looks. And I used to do this with Aaron Judge a lot. If Aaron Judge has an 8.5 fantasy score line, which nowadays it's mostly always 9.5 or above because Prize Picks caught on to this strategy a couple years back. But if you had like a 7.5 or 8.5 fantasy score line for Aaron Judge and he got walked twice, most of the time he was cashing that fantasy score line just because he got walked twice. That's 4 fantasy score. If he scores, that's another 2. If he scores again, that's 8, and he cashes. He didn't even get a hit. He cashed. That's one thing that I like to do with fantasy score. If you have stolen base upside, you can cash without actually getting a hit. Like Corbin Carroll, for example. If he's at an 8.5 fantasy score line, 1 base hit, that's 3. Stolen base, cashes. Andrew Vaughn, and yeah, Andrew Vaughn been absolutely crushing. Absolutely crushing. Is there a lefty? Okay. Against Kodai Senga is interesting. But you cannot deny what Andrew Vaughn has been doing. Which is completely interesting, right? Because this was a guy that was basically considered not good enough to be on the White Sox. He was optioned to AAA by the Chicago White Sox. All of a sudden, gets this opportunity with the Brewers, and now he's the best thing since sliced bread, right? I mean, he has a hit in each of his last 10 games. How about righties? Each of his last 8 games has a hit against righties, which is extremely interesting. This guy is just incredible. Let's see what his lines are like today. All right, so we have a 1.5 fantasy score line, 1.5 hits, runs, RBI line with a 5 fantasy score. I would all if you get these 2 numbers right here, I would always take the 5 fantasy score line, always over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Because if they're cashing that 1.5 hits, runs, RBI line, they're cashing their fantasy score. Okay, and you have more protection. You have more protection in the fantasy score than you do with the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs because of the walks hit by pitch, right? Let's see. I mean, now granted, this is not a guy that's walking much, right? He's swinging the bat. He doesn't mind striking out every once and again. But yeah, I would probably lean this 5 fantasy score if you're going Andrew Vaughn today. Let's kind of look at the metrics, right? Let's look at that. Tell you what, I thought Kodai Senga's strikeout numbers would be a little bit more compelling than they are. Just a 23% K rate. Not giving up a ton of power, but is giving up some contact. Come on. Where's our guy? Where's our guy? All right. Let's jump in and see. Obviously hasn't faced him. Let's set our parameters here. I'm gonna make a quick note. I'm just gonna make a quick note real quick. Give me just a sec here. I'm gonna make a quick note. just wanted to make a quick note for the team there. Something on this page. Okay, let's see. I think it's tough to quantify looking at his data versus pitch types because of that rough start he got off to this season. So I think we need to take that with a grain of salt. Forkball. This guy's throwing a forkball, four seam, forkball, curveball, slider. All right. Is he giving up anything? Like nothing's gonna stick out to you here. Just kind of average stuff. That forkball is a good pitch, right? He's getting a lot of swing and miss on this. I bet you Andrew Vaughn has not faced a forkball. So that always offers some risk, right? Because there's no data on it, um, and there's not gonna be a ton of data because nobody really throws this pitch. But four seam fastball, adding 232 to it, putting it in play, 22% hard hit rate, fly ball rate's really good, exit velo's good, putting that ball in play. I think this is more of a recent history and play than actually diving into the deep diving in deep to the stats. I think you're running this just solely based off of how hot he's been, right? If you guys have any other looks you want me to look at, let me know. If not, we'll kind of look at the hit rater here. We'll kind of look at the hit rater, see what we're spitting out. So the markets I select: total bases, hits, runs, RBIs, earned runs allowed, hits allowed, outs recorded, strikeouts recorded. These are the markets I like to bet on. If we want to look at overs, let's set our minimum odds to -160. Let's look at some overs today. So right off the bat, we see Edward Cabrera at the top. His average book odds for 4.5 strikeouts is almost -200 today. Almost -200 today. Incredible. Prize Picks has got this at 4.5. I guarantee you this has been bumped to 5 since then. We can look to confirm that. And it's been bumped to 5. You have to be on these lines as soon as they drop to get them at the 4.5 because they move so fast. But the books are telling us, hey, we feel pretty confident he's going to get 5 strikeouts today. And look, when you see the team on the other side, Atlanta has just been dreadful. Let's jump into it and look though. We are at Truist Park. How have the Braves been at home? They've been a dumpster fire regardless, but at least they're a tad bit better at home. 2-3 in their last 5. Wait, no, 2-3 in their last 5. I will say this, that historically the Braves have done really well against the Marlins, just kind of own the Marlins. We can kind of look. I bet you there's some good sample sizes. Olsen, 57% K rate. Murphy, 66. Ozzy Albies just had an awful season. Just a 217 batting average. Oh, man. I'm a Braves fan for you guys that don't know. It's rough. It's rough. It's rough. I just look at some of the names in this lineup, and I'm like, whew. Nick Allen, Nacho Alvarez, Eli White. I mean, yeah, Jurickson Profar missed most of the year juicing. If you just look at the base numbers, like nothing's really going to jump off the page. You got Murphy with a pretty high K rate, Alvarez, Nick Allen, Eli White, Ozzy Albies is more of a strikeout candidate than that. I would argue here. But we can look at it. Let's just see. Profar strikeout in 6 of 10. Olsen. You know Olsen's a big time strikeout candidate. Drake Baldwin doesn't strike out a ton, but he's shown that he will strike out. How much has Cabrera had in his career against Atlanta? So this is some pretty good data, right? He's got 3 starts against Atlanta, and what's good about this is all 3 of these starts have come away. They've come at Truist Park which I believe in 22 it was probably still SunTrust Park. But we can see that he had 8 strikeouts, 6, 7. I think it's pretty likely he gets to 6 strikeouts tonight. If we look at their right-hand pitching numbers, and this right here, just looking at this last 10, is the Braves season in a complete nutshell. The inconsistency is unbelievable. You don't know what team you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. You don't know. You're either getting this Braves team, 1 strikeout, 7 hits, 5 earned, or you're getting this Braves team, 18 outs, 4 hits, no runs, and 10 strikeouts. You don't know what you're going to get. So I think that's the only risk I see in terms of Cabrera, but here's the positive news for Cabrera. We see in his last 10 starts, he has gone over 16 and a half outs, right? I feel pretty confident that if he can get to 17, 18 outs today against the Atlanta Braves, he's going to go over the strikeout line. Also, is this available? All right, so this was probably available at some point and it got pulled off Prize Picks. I don't know how fast the joint website updates the live lines like this, but it was probably recently pulled off. I probably wouldn't touch the fantasy scoring line, pitches thrown. I probably wouldn't touch any of those. But the pitcher strikeouts, look, and you can see this is a popular play already today. People are on this. People are seeing this data. People are on this. Now, another thing to note is I don't think he's gone deep enough against Atlanta in his career to really warrant me taking that fantasy score line. I think you're just better off going with the 5 strikeouts. If you need a parlay piece, 3.5 strikeouts is a good one. I do not play goblins personally. I just think they kill like let's just do it. Let's just do this for an example, right? All right. So we have these 3 guys. If we took this at $20, we would make 120. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's a 6x. Let's take Trevor Story out and let's add in our Cabrera 3.5 strikeout. Immediately, we're only getting a 3.5x for 3 plays. If I take Cabrera out, we're already getting a 3. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to add in more risk for hardly any more reward. That is a super, super dumbed down definition, super simple definition of why I don't play goblins. I could go into a lot further detail, but that's just in a nutshell what it is. Why would I take this to win $50 when I can take this for roughly the same risk and make $50 more, right? You know, depending on what your entry fee is. So just keep that in mind. Look, I'm not gonna knock anybody that plays goblins. You can make money playing goblins. You just have to hit more slips consistently. So that's a really interesting one that popped up right at the top of the hit radar here. Probably won't get this line on Prize Picks for Freddie Freeman. I would be shocked if you got a Freddie Freeman 1.5 hits runs RBI line. Yeah, but you're sitting here at 7.5 fantasy score. They're not even going to offer that. All right, Woodruff, 156. I don't know. Woodruff has kind of burned me in the past. I just cannot get this guy right. He's on the other side of that Senga matchup. How have the good old New York Mets been recently? Any good? As always, guys, if you have plays that you're interested in, if you're not sure about a play, if you want to know why I think a play is good or bad, hey, I'm all ears. I'm open to suggestions. for plays to look at, show you how I would break them down in the tools. If not, we can just continue to do this. Look at plays that I would play personally. Okay, so let's look at the Mets. Let's look at the Mets here, and I think the Mets are just one of those streaky teams, right? If they're hitting the baseball, they're going to continue to hit the baseball. But we've seen them struggle a little bit here against starting pitching. In each of the last 5 games, they've only been able to muster 4 hits in the last 5 each game. Now against I don't even know how you wanna say that. You guys wanna try? Go be my guest. I'm not gonna try. Gave up 5 earned, probably a young guy, right? But you have Gavin Williams and Slade who came out and had a pretty good outing, against this Mets team. Um, I'll say this. I'll say this about it. He has gone let's look at this season 'cause, he hasn't he was injured for a long time, so let's just look at this season. He's gone over this line every start except one against Seattle. Funny enough, I took his strikeouts against that Seattle team when he hooked me. I had him at 5.5, and he hooked me right at 5. Typical, right? He cashes every other time except the time I took him. Welcome to gambling, okay? You're not the only one that happens to. Keep that in mind. Everybody hooks. I tell people all the time in the gambling space, you live and die by the hook. You're gonna get hooked. If you can't take it, don't bet. I'm gonna guess that he's 6 on Prize Picks today. And if I could have gotten this at a 5.5 line, I probably would have jumped on it. You would have probably had to get it early this morning or late last night to get it at that 5.5. What is it on a book? What is 5.5 on a book today? You can go here to our line analysis page. This is going to shop the line for you. Every line available for a given market, it will shop the line for you guys. So if you wanted to take 5.5 strikeouts today, you can pop over here. See that Hard Rock, you almost minus 200. You wouldn't want to take it there. DraftKings, you really wouldn't want to take it there. I'm probably betting this on FanDuel today. If I was taking this at minus 150, you're getting 20 to 25 cents of value there. If he was priced more like Edward Cabrera, I'd be willing to take him at 6. Edward Cabrera is what was he like minus 190 something? Let's just look at it again. And I'll show you why it's okay to take Edward Cabrera at that higher number. All right, let's line analysis here. Strikeouts. Now, let's move our strikeout line to 4.5. He's at 5, right? Look at this. Minus 210, minus 195, minus 200 on all books. Do you see the difference in his price lines on the books and Woodruff's? So Woodruff was like 150 to 160, but he's almost minus 200 across the board. So it's a stronger play on the book to take him at 5 than it is for Woodruff. And if that doesn't make sense, stop me, ask me to explain it again in a different way. But this is how I kind of use these books to beat Prize Picks. So Cabrera is definitely a strong look today. Let's see what else we got. Isaac Collins, man, I'm not gonna fall into that trap. He has burned me so many times. So I've been reading that this guy is just raking, right? Hold on. Let me just clean my glasses here and make sure. Let me just clean my glasses here. I need to make sure that I'm looking at the right guy. This guy right here is on a tear. Who we facing today? Tanner Bybee? Incredible. Incredible. Wow. Okay, okay, let's see. Let's see what we got, Mr. Bybee. How we doing? How are we doing? Okay. So we're a sinker baller. Sinker, cutter, sweeper, four seam fastball. 256, 204, 239. I mean, look, nothing's gonna jump out to you here. And as bad as his season has been, it's tough to even quantify pitch mix because he was so bad at the beginning of this year. All right, all right. We can look at his plate appearances though. Let's look at his plate appearances recently. Sinker, single, slider, double, home run off the fastball, single off a knuckle curve. He is just hitting, boys. And a good thing is, all these ABs, he only has two strikeouts. Two strikeouts. Interesting. What do we got? What do we got today for Mr. Luis? All right, prize picks. Come on. I'm wondering if my computer needs an update or something because it is running horribly. Sorry about that. Everybody, just work with me here. Computer was freezing up there, and as you can see, look, data is regularly available, right? People know that this guy's been hitting. Any data source in the world is going to tell you that Luis Robert is hitting the baseball. 26,000 people are on his fantasy score today. I guarantee you this was at 5.5 earlier today, and now it's at 6. If you want to take it, great. Obviously, I think he's due regression, but I can't knock a guy that's hitting the baseball as well as he is. Cannot knock it. If you want to go there, do it. Now this is interesting at a plus money line. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Old man Merrill Kelly making a start for the Rangers tonight. Let's look at it. So Sanchez, lefty. I love taking left-handed pitchers against the Texas Rangers. Take a look at these K rates to lefties this year. Just take a look here. This is where I'm looking for you guys. Just about everybody has an above average strikeout rate to left-hand pitching. I don't think that Jock Peterson will be in the lineup against a lefty. He only has 5 ABs this season against left-hand pitching, so I doubt he'll be in the lineup. But don't even worry about that one. Same thing for Rowdy Tellez. I doubt he'll be in the lineup as well. Um, but let's look at Sanchez here. I mean, Jock does have a hit against him, so maybe he will be. I don't know. But these averages are incredibly low. I love targeting left-hand pitching against the Rangers against the Rangers lineup. As you can see here, just nobody really producing against lefties. I think that we actually did look at a lefty last week against the Rangers, and I think they have been improving slightly. Yes, as you can see here, their last 3, they've really started to come around. So if you're believing that what they've done in the last 3 games is real, I mean, look, that's Rodon, Carlos Rodon, that's Max Fried, that's Kikuchi. These are legit left-hand starting pitchers in the major leagues. The strikeouts were still there for the most part. Um, let's take a look. As he faced Texas? So he's not faced Texas, which is, but I would probably look at this 18.5 outline. I mean, look at this. This guy pitches deep into ball games. And let's just look at his starts this season. So, obviously to start the season was kind of not going super deep, which we do see this a lot of times the start of the season. Pitchers aren't fully stretched out, so they take a while to get going. But if we look at our last 15, look at our last let's look at our last 10 games. We've gone at least 18 and a half outs in 9 out of 10 of those, right? Now, granted, nobody's really done that against the Rangers, so maybe it's not a look. But you can take this. If he's going to go 19 outs today, he's probably going to cash the strikeout line. I do wish we had some data. I wish he had faced them before. Probably a stay away spot. I feel like this could end up being a trap, but it's at plus money. If you wanted to take it at Profit X, you get a much better line, and that's what the Hit Rater tool is going to do for you guys. It's going to shop all these lines, and it's going to spit out the best place to take it where you can get the best odds and ultimately make more money over time. So plus 120 is an average book odd, right? And we're getting plus 140 on ProfitX. I'd be fine to take that today. This is a young guy who. Let's just do this. This is a young guy who's really come onto the scene well. I've been seeing some plays of the day with this guy on X. I've been seeing some ladders taken with this guy. Who knows? Who knows if this is going to continue, right? Maybe it's a flash in the pan. Maybe he's legit. We don't know. Only time tells the story, guys. But for now, we can take advantage of him. You know, he's sitting at minus 136 for a hit today. So he's sitting at minus 136 for a hit. Sitting at a 4.5 fantasy score line. Now let's kind of look at this. So he's plus 130 today for 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. So it's not the strongest play in the world to come over here and take 4.5 fantasy score, right? I would much rather you bet this on a book at plus 130 than to take 4.5 fantasy scores. Okay? He's shown some walk upside. Again, if you need a parlay piece, I've got no issue taking 0.5 bases. Nothing really sticks out there that I would jump on. The cash cow Walker Bueller. If you guys know me, I'm a big Walker Bueller hater. Let's just look at this earned run average. Giving up at least 3 runs in 8 of his last 10. At least. Against San Diego, as early as last season, 7 hits, 6 earned. How have they been doing against righties? They were on a streak here of just crushing, right? Seems like they've cooled off, come back to earth a little bit. Seems like they've cooled off. Just checking a message there. Seems like they have cooled off. Let's see what we got for Mr. Bueller today. Walker Bueller. Oh man, I wish they would have given me a fantasy score line. We would have nuked the under. Okay. I mean, look at this. You're sitting here at a baseline of 5.5 hits allowed. 5.5 hits allowed. I'm telling you. If I thought, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Bueller. This 3.5 demon for earned runs is interesting. It's interesting, right? But we also can come over here and look at these pitching outs. They don't think he's going very deep in this ballgame at all, right? He is plus 130 on the books to just even go 5 innings. So we would want this. We would want his outs line to be higher, so that we have more opportunity for the other team to score runs, if that makes sense. Okay, because there's a high likelihood that you're going to see something like this: 13 to 14 outs with 3 earned runs. That's a pretty standard Walker Bueller start, right? Now he's got the outliers here with 8 earned runs, 5, 5, 5, 4. I don't think there's enough meat on the bone there to pull the trigger. on that 3.5 line. If you wanted to run like a game stack sort of game theory kind of thing, and you wanted to run some like hits, runs, RBIs on the Padres side, right? So we just searched by Padres. If you wanted to run like a correlation stack, right? Maybe, and they're not even offering 2.5. I mean, this is probably not going to work today. If you wanted to run something like a Jackson Merrill, you could run that. You could run some bases. You could run Luis Ariz, 1.5 hits. If Manny Machado has a 3.5 line, you could run something like that. If you think that Bueller is actually going to get torched, if you think Bueller is actually going to get torched in this one, you could run something like this, right? And I think if you want to run this, make sure it's correlated. Make sure it's correlated because for Walker Bueller to give up a lot of runs in a shorter start, you're going to need these guys to do something like this, right? That would be my advice there. And if I'm going too fast, let me know, slow me down, ask a question, feel free. I don't mind explaining again. Also, if you guys don't know, if you're new to the betting space and you genuinely have questions, feel free to ask. I'm not here to shame anybody. Joint Sports is here to make you a better gambler, to help you make educated, smarter decisions on your plays. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help. Now, I did see Trevor's Story on the popular list here, unless I was mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, and this is pretty much another. This is like a discrepancy right here, guys. This is a discrepancy. We've got a 6 fantasy scoring line and a 1.5 hits, runs, RBI demon. So we're getting. Let's do this. So if we took 6 fantasy score with Kurtz, we would be getting 3x, right? We took the same thing and put him in. We're getting 3.5 for virtually the same line, right? You're getting it at a better price on Prize Picks with the demon. So the 1.5 hits, runs, RBI just based on value alone is a good parlay piece today. Even without looking at data at all to support it, it's a good parlay piece just based on numbers, right? But let's look at some numbers. Who are we facing? Old Nicholas Pivetta. Old Nicholas Pivetta hasn't faced him. This is just solely taking a hot hitter, right? I'm not a big fan of taking people against Nick Pivetta. I think Nick Pivetta is a good pitcher. But for research sake, let's look at it. And Pivetta is giving up a little bit more to the right-handed side of the plate. Really and truthfully, it's a massive reverse split. If you don't know what reverse splits are, he is stronger against left-handed hitters than he is against right-handed hitters. Left-handed hitters have only taken him deep 3 times this year, and righties have taken him deep 11. So let's look at this lineup. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 lefties. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Let's look at the Red Sox side. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lefties in the lineup. Projected lineup, guys. This is not finalized. Once the lineup is finalized, you will see this say confirmed. Okay? This is just the expected lineup of what we think the lineup might look like today. Obviously, we don't know what the managers are going to do, right? They could have scheduled days off for guys. They could have an injury that pop up today that we can't account for, right? So you want to check back in once lineups come out. You can kind of see who's in the lineup. Interestingly enough, I do wanna look at one thing for Pavetta. I do wanna look at one thing for Pavetta. Oh, man, he hasn't faced Boston because he's been going deep into ball games. Does he have a fantasy score line today? Do you have a fantasy score line today? 33.5. I'm probably not gonna pull the trigger on that, but I think that could be a decent look, actually. 33.5 fantasy score or 6 strikeouts could be an interesting look, just based on the reverse splits line. And I think it's likely that and maybe it's likely we get another lefty in this lineup today. So and this is another thing. If you guys come back and check the lineup and you see, "Hey, the Red Sox are throwing out 7 lefties today." Nick Pivetta is a reverse splits pitcher. He has better numbers against lefties. That's also another way to gain value. Um, but yeah, I think the Story. Let's look at the pitch mix stuff for Trevor Story and kind of see what he's doing well against. Where are we batting, Mr. Story? Right here. I've already been live for an hour and it just doesn't feel like it at all. So I am gonna have to have a hard out here in about 5 minutes. I've got a meeting I've got to get to here. So if you guys have any last minute plays you want to look up, I can take maybe one or two more, and we can jump in and look at it. If not, we'll look at Trevor's Story here on the pitch mix stuff. We'll call it a day. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. So Pavetta's throwing a lot of fastball, sweeper, cutter a little bit, right hand pitching. The Story really has a lot of success against that sinker, which we're not going to see today. Fastball, sweeper, cutter. Fastball, Story, not really handling it. Not really handling it all that well. What was it? Sweeper. Sweeper, 242. Good bit of strikeouts. So here, this is what I'll say. This is what I'll leave you guys with today. This is what I'll leave you guys with today. And I'm not saying to do this. This is a game theory perspective. In the same way that if a batter's really cold, at some point you can buy low on him to turn it around. Well, could this be a sell high spot on Trevor Story today? He's been crushing. Is this a potential spot where you could do this? I'm not saying to do it. But the law of averages would tell me that at some point soon, regression will hit Trevor Story. We know that these guys do not hit like this the whole year. It's just impossible. Nobody's done it. Nobody will ever do it. You cannot maintain this pace right here all year long. At some point, if you wanted to correlate something like this. Now let me see. Let me see if so they are you can't really do it on Prize Picks. They're gonna cut your payout on it. So you can't really correlate as much on Prize Picks anymore like you used to. This used to be the big strategy on Prize Picks. You would correlate your plays because if this guy struggles or this and this guy struggles, it means this guy did good and that sort of thing. But I think there's some merit to looking at that. You saw the pitch mix struggles, lots of strikeouts to those pitches, and we can even take it a step further. Let's see. Is Trevor Story handling Story handling the pitches? And it looks like he is, right? Four seam, single, four seam, single, strikeout, 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 single. Now we knew he was a good sinker ball hitter, right? So you're seeing one, two, three out of what, 8 or 9 of his hits have been off that sinker ball. He's not gonna see that today. He's gonna see mostly fastballs. And at this 6th line, we're okay if Pavetta gives up a single. We're quite literally expecting it because that's 3 fantasy score. If 1 run scores, that's only 5. He's still under, right? We would need a little bit of variance to be on our side there, but there is a scenario where he goes under today. So don't be afraid to take those unders and go against the grain of what the community's doing, right? Don't be afraid. Because you look in this popular tab, a lot of these popular plays are gonna miss today. If you get a read on something, and I would honestly hedge this. I would hedge this. In one slip, I would take the hitter fantasy score under, and I would take this 1.5 hits, runs, RBI demon over in another slip. You're hedging yourself right there. Obviously, there's a scenario where both miss. That's gambling. That's the risk we're gonna. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today, guys. We're at 12 o'clock. Time flies when you're having fun. We've been here an hour. We've got some big things coming for doing sports, guys. Some big things coming. If you're interested in a possible affiliate deal with Doink Sports, don't hesitate to DM us on X. I run the X account, so I'll see it. Just send that DM over. If you don't think that we would consider you, don't think that way. Market yourself and grow in this space. We're looking for people that are willing to work, they're willing to put in some effort, that like the product. And I can't really release what the new affiliate program is just yet, but it's going to be lucrative for guys that put in the work. I'll leave you guys with that. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their Friday and a great weekend. Let's hit some bets tonight, okay? See y'all.